Shalom everyone from Israel. Good afternoon. It is January 5th here in Tel Aviv. It is morning wherever you are, or afternoon or evening, somewhere in the world. What is more important is that we are here together. And want to welcome you guys to episode 9 here at the Anchors of Hope. Episode 9 at the Anchors of Hope, where I want to start off with thanking you for tuning in, for listening. I want to thank you for sharing, not only sharing the episodes with your networks, your family, friends, and colleagues perhaps, but I also want to thank you for sharing your feedback. I've gotten some amazing feedback from listeners, from friends out there, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it because, first of all, it's good to know that people are listening. But it's also important for me as I continue to put out these episodes, it is important that they are relevant. My intention, as you might already know by now if you've been listening to all my previous episodes, is to provide a good 10 to 15 minutes of thoughtful, perhaps transformative content that will leave you thinking to yourself about life, about purpose, about maintaining hope over optimism, optimism being the sort of waiting around and waiting for something good to happen, being optimistic that something will land perhaps from the skies or someone will do something about the situation we find ourselves in, versus hope being the active agent of change. We have choices, we make decisions about our life, about how we fill it with meaning, with purpose. And so this episode is going to talk about, is the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? Now, there are countless philosophers and sacred texts that have been written and put out over the centuries. Who am I but one person to share my bitre zuzeh, my 2 cents on this topic of the meaning of life? Perhaps you already know what the answer to that question is, or maybe you don't. Either way, something for us to consider. Do we live our lives to essentially fill our own appetite? Do we live our lives to advance our careers, to make more money, to have more things? I don't think so, and I hope you agree with me. I mean, it can't be that is all we live for, because when it's all said and done, then what did we actually do in this life aside from amass things for ourselves? Because there's never enough money. And then with all the money we earn, and I know people, and I'm sure you all do as well, who have tons of money and things, and God bless them for their success and their careers and professions. And yet with everything people may already have, there's always more. There's always more you want. You want that new phone that just came out. You get it. And then a year later, there's a new edition. You want that new pair of sneakers or shoes or jacket or coat or hat or house or car. And so you feel like you need this thing. You put all this emphasis, energy, and meaning into these things, only to realize it's not enough. And then that excitement, that ends. And we find that we are still searching for meaning. Abraham Joshua Heschel, of blessed memory, once taught, things when magnified are forgeries of happiness. We put emphasis on the things when in fact they are meaningless. Is it all for nothing then? What is life for? What is it about? The book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, starts off by claiming, Hevel hevelim hakol hevel, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Egocentrism, narcissism, is that what we exist for? Just ourselves? So I want to share with you just a few perspectives of life, meaning making, purpose. We're going to start with Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, who you may have heard of, was an Austrian physicist, a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps And while working in a camp hospital, he noticed something remarkable. He noticed that the death rate spiked dramatically between the holiday of Christmas and New Year's Eve. This was in 1944. And he attributed this to prisoners in the concentration camps who had naively hoped for liberation. They imagined that leading up to Christmas, there was going to be change. Perhaps they were going to be freed from the captivity, from the concentration camps. They were going to be liberated. And when that hope collapsed, as it did, leading up to Christmas and New Year's, when it drew close, they lost their courage. And with it, they lost their resiliency, their resistance, and ability to survive. They died of mere sadness. Viktor Frankl, he observed that prisoners who maintained a sense of purpose, a why to live for, were more likely to survive even the most unimaginable suffering. He quoted Nietzsche, who said, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow." In other words, we have choices, we make meaning, we decide what comes next. We decide, we choose life. And here's what's remarkable. The months after Frankl's liberation, excuse me, in 1945, Frankl sat down and wrote the entire manuscript of Man's Search for Meaning in just 9 successive days. 9 days. That's all it took. As if the meaning he had discovered during his time was so urgent, it just poured out of him immediately. There's another example of a thought to meaning and purpose in life that I wanted to share by a Danish thinker, a Danish philosopher by the name of Soren Kierkegaard. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, so I apologize. But in his book, Fear and Trembling, he contemplates the biblical account of Abraham, our patriarch, our first patriarch, Abraham, being commanded to sacrifice Isaac, Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, as we all know the story is called. And he focuses on the single phrase from the Bible, from the Torah, and it goes like this, quote, "And Abraham rose up early in the morning, Vayashkem Avraham baboker." And Kierkegaard asks, why did Abraham get up early? What does it tell us about how he faced this existential crisis? For Kierkegaard, Abraham's response was to take what he called the leap of faith, to embrace the paradox, to commit to meaning even when certainty is impossible. Abraham did not know to where he was headed, and trusted the divine providence, trusted God to guide him to wherever he was going. But here's the twist for you to think about. And it's important because Kierkegaard himself confessed, and he writes, quote, "I am convinced that God is love. What it is present to me, I am unspeakably happy. When it is present to me, I am unspeakably happy. When it is absent, I yearn for it more intensely than the lover for the beloved. But I do not have faith. This courage I lack." The philosopher who became famous for the, quote, leap of faith admitted his struggles to making that very leap himself. So what do we learn from these two thinkers who experienced meaning making, purpose, meaning in life in sort of different ways and different types of revelations? Frankl discovered that meaning isn't something we necessarily find. It's something we make. Even in a concentration camp, when everything is stripped away, we retain what Frankl calls the last of human freedoms. The freedom to choose our attitude, to decide what our existence will be. Sorry, I have a little cough take a sip of my coffee here. And Kierkegaard showed us that commitment to meaning requires courage. It's not about having all the answers we seek. It's about getting up early in the morning, like Abraham did, and acting despite the uncertainty. You see, purpose, meaning, isn't something that we can buy. It's not a thing. It's something we acquire, we reveal, we make sense of, we choose, we decide. And it connects directly to what we've been exploring here at the Anchors of Hope on this podcast. The difference between passive optimism and active hope. Passive optimism being that maybe things will work out somehow, versus active hope saying, I will work to make meaning, even in chaos, because life is chaotic. And so what is meaningful purpose in life? I believe we are here in part to make meaning, to bring life to our world, a world which can be chaotic, we all know. We mimic creation theology, bringing order to chaos through life itself. We read about this in the book of Genesis in Bereshit. V'tohu vavohu, and there was chaos on earth. And God sets order, right? Categorizes, separates the waters of above from the waters of below, rescinds the water so that the land rises, the animals who fly in the sky and the animals that walk or crawl on the land, and so on and so forth. Our tradition teaches us that through this concept of procreation, not just biological reproduction, but spiritual and cultural reproduction. When we bring children into the world, when we teach Torah, when we role model values and principles, when we create community, we are participating in the ongoing act of creation, of making meaning. The Talmud teaches us, whoever saves a single life is considered to have saved an entire world, and conversely, whoever brings a life into being participates in building worlds. This is active meaning making, not waiting for life to have meaning, but creating it through our actions, our commitments, and our relationships. Frankl called this logotherapy, therapy through meaning. And he identified 3 ways we find meaning: through creative work, through love and relationships, and yes, even through suffering, when we transform suffering into something purposeful. So what is the meaning of life? It's not in the accumulation of things, that's for sure, as Heschel taught. Things when magnified are forgeries of happiness. It's not in vanity, as Kohelet warns us against. The meaning of life is in the making of meaning. It is in the choices to bring order out of chaos. It's in the courage to get up early in the morning, like Abraham our patriarch, and to act with purpose. It's in maintaining our why even when the how seems unbearable. And this is our third anchor, our purposeful existence. Not passive acceptance, not optimistic waiting, but active creation. Creation of meaning through our choices, our commitments, and eventually our legacy. Frankl survived Auschwitz because he held on to meaning. Kierkegaard struggled with faith, but showed us that the struggle itself, the honest wrestling with purpose, well, that is meaningful. And we are here to procreate in the fullest sense, to bring forth life, ideas, communities, justice, and hope. And in this participation, resulting in creating a world that is purpose-driven, meaningful, that is better. It is an ongoing means to a means. There is no means to the end. It is infinite. It's a means to a means. It's an Ein Sof, an infinite journey of making meaning in life, because it doesn't just happen on its own. The meaning of life isn't a destination we discover. It's an anchor we throw forward into an uncertain future. And then we work, we pull to reach that future. Thank you all for joining us and thinking about this purpose. Next time on the Anchors of Hope, perhaps we'll explore how this commitment to meaning shapes our approach to building resiliency in our lives and in our communities. And until next time, perhaps ask yourself, what meaning am I making today? What am I doing to bring forth a purpose-driven life? Until next time, I want to thank you all for joining me here at the Anchors of Hope, sending you love and light from Israel. And remember, Am Yisrael Chai, it's not just a slogan, it's a way of life.